Crappy mannequin. A few years ago, while visiting my dad all the way up in Minnesota for the summer, I had one of the most terrifying paranormal encounters ever. Keep in mind that the walls are really thin in the house, so I would have known if someone was walking around outside of my bedroom. I also slept by myself in the guest bedroom, and to the right of my bed is an open closet with a mirror facing me, and the door is at the foot of my bed. I remember waking up at 2:54 a.m. I wasn't able to sleep, so I decided to listen to music on my iPod, but the battery was only at 4%, so I, being the lazy shit I am, decided to stay on my bed and suffer in boredom rather than reach over a couple feet to charge my iPod. After I rolled to the other side of the bed and closed my eyes, I heard the doorknob jiggling like someone desperately trying to get in. Immediately, I opened my eyes and saw the doorknob stop jiggling and the door slowly open a few inches. I thought my older brother was trying to scare me, so I closed my eyes again, but I heard footsteps of a heavy person walk by the foot of my bed and stop at the middle of the room. My eyes opened again on instinct, and I looked back at the door and saw that it was only open for that few inches. Then this horrifying feeling of being watched hits my back, and I close my eyes again, slowly covering my head and shoulders with my blanket. After several minutes of being paralyzed in fear, I got the courage to take my head out of the blanket and open my eyes and looked into the mirror in the closet next to my bed. And what I saw scared the living shit out of me. A silhouette of a large man was standing next to my fucking bed. His upper body was crouched as if he was observing me, and his right arm looked like it was reaching out to me. I patted around a half-foot radius in front of my body for my cell phone and accidentally pressed the play button for the music, which played Taylor Swift's Love Story. I was using my sister's memory card, and looked back at the mirror and saw that it was gone. I was scared it'll come back, so I played that song all night until I managed to fall back asleep again. Worst night. My life. Dar, Taylor Swift makes the ghost go away. Wales. Kinda late on this thread, but whatever, sue me. When I was young, 9 or 10, we owned this old wooden mini fridge, usually stocked with beers and soda pop, that kind of stuff. Anyways, one night I went to grab a drink out of the fridge. As I approach it, I can hear beer bottles clanking softly. I thought that was odd, but it didn't think much of it. Then I took one more step forward and the whole fucking fridge started shaking, like visibly and audibly shaking. Then I decided I wasn't all that thirsty and ran the fuck away. Looking back, it was probably an earthquake tremor, and not a demonic hellbeast waiting for me to open the fridge of the underworld so he can ejaculate fire onto the earth from his cock of sorrow. But 10-year-old me would not take any chances. Trust your gut, kids. I was young, and I'd like to say that it was just a kid's mistake, but I could just be stupid, though. I got a new bike and was excited to ride it, but I wasn't allowed to go off my street. So of course I did as soon as my parents' backs were turned. I was old enough to know that what I was doing was wrong, but I didn't really care. So I'm in a nearby neighborhood, minding my own business, when a guy rolls up in a van and asks if I need a ride. I say no, but he continues to ask questions. The entire exchange feels off, so I quickly turn around and race home. Halfway down the street, I realize the guy is actually banging a U-turn and coming around. Oh hell no. I race across a busy street, nearly getting hit, and instead of going the extra bit to my neighborhood, I just speed down the street behind my own street and go to my neighbor's house, who lives behind me, and ditch my bike. They have a huge yard, and I can easily climb their small fence and reach over the top of my own larger fence and drop into my backyard. I quickly do so, and once inside the safety of my backyard, I look out one of the holes in the wood fence and I see the van drive by slowly on my neighbor's street. The man obviously sees my bike in the yard and thinks that it must be my house as he waits for a bit before quickly driving away. Once he was gone, I started crying, but I was too scared to go get my bike back or even go biking again after my neighbor kindly brought it back to me. I didn't even tell my parents because I was sure I'd get in trouble for going off the street. It seems stupid of me not to tell them now, but meh, kid logic. Reddit, what is your most disturbing, scary, or creepy real story? Serious Part 8. Deleted user. When I was about 13, my grandparents owned a house on the waterfront. The property was on a heavily wooded peninsula, and because my grandparents lived in Florida half of the year, they allowed their, obviously grown children to use the house as a sort of vacation home. The woods were littered with sizable streams that emptied out into the larger body of water that the house faced, and some of these streams were deep enough in places so as to provide swimming holes, relatively deep pockets of slow-moving water that were often close to the stream bank. One of my favorite such holes was about 12-15 feet deep and had fairly cloudy visibility if you went any deeper than 3 feet under the surface. These measurements are probably off. It was at least a decade ago that this happened, and everything seems bigger when you are a child. And when you're terrified, being a kid, I didn't think of the stupidity of swimming in such a spot. It was made even more awesome by a long rope somebody had tied around a thick tree limb. You would swing on the rope, and once you got high enough, you'd let go and drop down into the water below. Once, when my parents were taking a nap, I got it into my head that it would be a great time to go swimming, alone, without supervision. When I arrived at the hole, I decided to challenge myself and see if I could reach the bottom. I pulled the rope back as far away from the edge of the water as I could until I was standing on my tiptoes. Holding the rope, I ran full speed until I was airborne, then dropped into the water. Unbelievably, and I use that term loosely, I sank to the bottom. Satisfied with this result, I pushed off the stream bed, expecting to be propelled back to the top. Instead, I went a few inches and was abruptly jerked back. Confused, I tried again and again. I went nowhere. Panicking, I realized that my swimming trunks had gotten snagged on a submerged stump or log, but in my mind, some evil creature had grabbed hold of me. I desperately struggled to get free. This is the part that I remember most. My vision started to darken around the periphery. Tunnel vision, if you will. Bright spots of lights were flashing in the little window of sight I still had. The pain in my oxygen-deprived lungs, it felt like they were on fire. I could actually feel myself starting to pass out. Losing muscle control, my eyes starting to roll back in my head. My limbs felt so heavy and I was losing the will to struggle. Then it happened. Somebody appeared through the murky water and freed my shorts from the stump. They grabbed a hold of me and carried me up to surface. Then they were gone. There was no trace of them. A huge tear in one of the legs of my bathing suit was the only physical evidence of my ordeal. Thinking back, I'm fairly certain that this savior entity was a product of my oxygen-deprived brain. What I believe actually happened was a result of an intense effort of my mind telling me save itself. Some part of me must have had the wherewithal to make a final, desperate struggle that luckily ripped my shorts and freed me. That same part of me must have made some sort of effort to swim to the surface as well, though I suppose it's possible that my body's natural buoyancy had something to do with that.